If you are really confused about interviews like what is the procedure, how to answer tell me about yourself question, resume कैसे बनाए on campus versus off campus, development कितना करना चाहिए, and do tier of college really matters. So this video is going to be really helpful for you guys. As in this, I am having Ruchika ma'am with me. So she is a Microsoft recruiter and having such experience, she is the best one to answer all these questions. So without further ado, let's get started. So I want to make this podcast from a perspective of a student who is seeking opportunity for placement and internship interviews, and having such an experience, there is no one better than you to answer these questions. So how are you, Ruchika ma'am?
I'm good. Thank you so much, Chirag, for inviting me to your channel. I know that I have also seen some of your videos and you've been doing really great there. So thank you so much for doing that, firstly, for the student community. I'm doing great, hanging in there.
Now the thing that I wanted to ask is very hyped particularly, okay? And the thing is, from a recruiter point of view, what is the difference between on campus and off campus? And continuing that part, how is tier of colleges decide that how candidate is? Do that decide or do that not decide? There is a really confusion about this, so it will be great if you can explain this.
So the first question, which is around what is the difference between off-campus and on-campus, and what does it mean to a recruiter? Well, there is a certain hiring season that every organization has, and the hiring season for campus hiring starts off in the month of July. That's when semester starts for almost all of the colleges. There's a new semester that begins. People, juniors are coming in, seniors are getting promoted to the next class, whatever. So that's the perfect season, and it coincides with our hiring season as well. So July is when we kickstart our on-campus hiring season, which means our focus initially is going to be on campus, making sure that we are getting the talent from the targeted list of schools, and making sure that we are connecting with the students through that. Now, on-campus season typically stops somewhere between August, end of August, mid of September, and that's when at least most of the companies have wrapped up their first phase of hiring, right? Now, after that is when off-campus season starts. Now, why is it like this, on-campus and off-campus? Because, off-campus is more around, okay, we have, so much of demand that is yet to be met. And for this, we want to, open it to all the colleges in India, or, all of the schools in India, whatever it is. So, yes, on campus is where it's only, a targeted list of schools. The number of people that appear for the hiring process is small, but that does not mean that the process is easy. I know a lot of people think that just because it's on campus, it's easy, and off campus, it's difficult. Nothing like that. It's, of course, the volume is small, which means there are probably, at one point in time, there are 500 people who are sitting for the online test, versus an off campus where probably there could be 1,000. But overall, I think the screening criteria, the hiring criteria remains the same. So there's no change in that. Off campus, of course, it's a bigger ocean that we are kind of connecting with the talent. So it's always important on what exactly you are putting on your resume, right? You cannot have like a below average resume, which is why I always keep telling in many of my videos at least that make sure that your resume is like rock star. You have to have a solid resume, because especially when you're applying off campus, those are the things that are going to come out when a recruiter is going through your resume. And again, the recruiter will only spend 7 seconds. So that's all the time that they have to screen a resume. I'm doing a lot of screening nowadays, and I'm sitting and doing that. And I honestly, I don't have the time to look at more than a resume for more than that time, right? So it's basic math. If I have to look at 100 resumes in a day, it's 8 hours. How many seconds would I spend? You guys, everybody is an engineer here, or most of you will be an engineer, so you'll know, right? So that's one of the things that you need to keep in mind. The other thing that I do want to call out is off-campus opportunities are plenty right now. Off-campus opportunities are plenty right now, and I am seeing LinkedIn full with these again social media influencers who keep on sharing these opportunities. So don't be too fixated about I just want this particular company, I'll wait for this particular company. मतलब Microsoft जब off campus करेगा मैं तभी apply करूँगा. Don't have that mentality. Keep applying. Keep at least, even if that's not your dream to be in that particular company, doesn't matter, at least you're getting the hang of it, you're getting practice out of it, right? So that's very important. So in terms of tier, it has changed over the years. At least in the last 3-4 years that I have been working in Microsoft, it has changed significantly. Yes, a couple of years back, I myself have faced it, that I was not from a tier 1 college, and of course there was this clear differentiation between tier and whatever. But honestly, the job market is changing. Companies, their mindset is changing, because now the demand is expanding. Companies are no longer hiring little numbers. Because the demand has become big, we also have realized that we need to make sure that talent is coming from everywhere. It's not just selective to certain colleges or certain tiers. It has to be, that expansion has to happen everywhere. So which is why I don't remember seeing this trend of off-campus opportunities like 2 years back also. All this off-campus and all has just started, especially from the time that the pandemic hit. Pandemic, of course, had its, bad things that came along with it, but at least for the student community, for job seekers, it's been a boon, because go ahead and ask your seniors as well, people who probably passed out 2 years back, if they had access to such opportunities. I don't think so. There was nothing like off campus. Abhi start hua hai, and I think it's the great time for you to be coming into the into the job market, because you have access to all of this. So yeah, in terms of tiering, it has changed. There are a lot of organizations which are hiring, and they're doing inclusive hiring, irrespective of the tier. It doesn't matter which tier you are, because organizations are hiring you for a certain role, and you're getting paid as per that role. So I'm glad that this change has come, and the student community, the ones that will be graduating the next couple of years, are going to benefit from this. Yeah.
That's really good to hear about, that all the talents are getting the opportunities, and that what makes sense. So now the question is that I wanted to ask question from a thing that you said only, that you should have a rockstar resume, and you mentioned this line in your most of the videos as well. So I wanted to ask that, as you created a lot of content regarding these things, so what according to you is best resume, if you want to mention it in 3 lines?
So for me, I think the resumes which really stay with me are when, firstly, resumes which are crisp, like they're not very, very long, those something that doesn't stay with me at all. Resumes where I actually see achievements, achievements which are not average achievements, but really crazy achievements that they've put. And I know people tend to not, they tend to get very focused about academics only, and they don't, focus about the other things that they probably have achieved in life. So that's something that I'm also on the lookout for when I am screening a resume. Of course, there are technical aspects that every recruiter is screening for, and I myself am screening for those different aspects. The third thing that I really look out for is the projects that the person has done. How varied are those projects? That's something that again gets me very excited, because I feel that the person has been very flexible, is willing to take on things which are challenging, right? So I think these 3 things really, for me at least, determine a great resume, because at the end of the day, you're basically selling your candidature to the recruiter, and in order to do that, you need to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward and not your average foot forward, right? So that's something that you should keep in mind when you're creating your resume. What is it that you want the recruiter to really watch out for or in your candidature when they read your resume?
So from your words only, you said that you look after the third thing, that is development, right? So there is again one hyped question, that there are 2 things, either you can go for competitive programming or development, and it's really confusing that what amount of development should we do, what amount of competitive should we do, because in online rounds you have to clear with the help of DSA, with the help of competitive coding and all. So I just wanted to ask that, what amount of development do a particular company require, as in the training period you are going to be taught about the development and all the scheme and structure of that company?
Okay, so interesting question, and I know that a lot of people have this, how much and how less, and I think my answer to that is there's no quantity as such. It's not like I have to spend 4 hours in a day just focused on a particular thing and then just focus the rest on competitive programming. I feel there has to be a balance, and again, this is coming from someone who sits and screens resume day in and day out. I'm not too fixated about either. And especially when we do put students through for the interview, of course they have to, there is a coding test, and they have to go through and all of that. So obviously the whole thing around technical aspects are covered there. But in addition to that also, interestingly, when interviewers interview candidates, they are not expecting them to know everything, right? So there will always be certain things that they expect the candidate not to know, and that's the flexibility you need to have. It's not about if I spend 30 hours in a week only focused on algorithms or DSA or whatever, and then the rest 20 hours I just do competitive programming. But even after that, if the stuff that you're doing is not that great, and you know that you're not great at that, you're just wasting your time. So my advice to you would be, do what you really like doing. Don't get too taken away with advice, freak advice that is coming from a lot of people. Do this and don't do that. That's not how your life should function, at least as per me. And it's coming from somebody who takes their own decisions. You should take your own decisions. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you don't want to do? And either way, if you're good in development or if you're good in competitive programming, it will come out during the interview process as well. So it's not like one is bad and the other is good. It's not like that. You should be very flexible about what you want to try in life.
For going to interview, you have to first go into the company and do all the rounds first. So for that, I wanted to ask you a question, that how to use LinkedIn and how to get referrals for different companies. You are also really active on LinkedIn, and I really appreciate that. So you will be the best person to answer this question particularly.
Yeah, so you have to be active on LinkedIn. Make sure that you follow people who are, creating content for the student community. I know that I have worked with some people. I've collaborated with few of the kids, not kids like they are grown-ups, but I do call them kids because they're younger than me. But Arsh Goyal is one who creates a lot of off-campus opportunities. He shares a lot of off-campus opportunities. Kushal Vijay is one more person that I've worked with. In fact, he's currently working with Microsoft. I think these are the people who actually make sure that they collate all of this information and share it with the rest of the world. I know a lot of students have also got opportunities because of this information that is coming their way. So be in touch with these with these social media influencers. Make sure that when opportunities are coming and you're on top of it, right? Secondly, I know there is a lot of questions around referrals and how do we ask referrals and all of that. I'll be honest, this is coming from someone who is within the organization, but honestly referrals is not mandatory. It's not like you cannot apply for a job opportunity if you don't have a referral or if you don't know anybody in the organization. If you have a referral, then you obviously have brownie points in the form of you at least have somebody who can follow up on your candidature or on your application and get you that closure in case you're not going ahead or going ahead or whatever. But even if you are not having any referrals, that's okay. There's nothing stopping you from applying. Now, how to get referrals is again a big question mark that a lot of people have. I'll be honest again, there is no point in reaching out to people who are not active on LinkedIn. And I know that a lot of people write messages after messages and they don't get responses. And it could also be because the person itself is not logging in more than a month or probably whenever they change a job. I know a lot of people, some of the people that I know, I work with very closely, they are not active on LinkedIn. They don't know what's happening on LinkedIn, and that's perfectly fine. Not everybody is crazy about social media, and that's okay. So no point chasing people who are not active. Make sure that in terms of referrals, again, you'll have to make a connection with people and get to know them before you ask for a referral. I get a lot of requests actually most 90% of the requests that I get is around, ma'am, can you refer us? It's sometimes it's not even a request, it's just that please refer us. And it's a little weird for me. Firstly, as a recruiter, I cannot refer candidates, and I keep telling that to people. I cannot, because that's one of the things internally that, you know, there is a certain policy around it. So recruiters cannot refer candidates, period. Now the other people that can refer candidates is employees, or if you know, like a senior that works in the organization, or maybe your, you know, some acquaintance, far off relative, or whatever. So those are good people to be in touch with. Now I know that the college community is very strong. Like seniors do a lot for their juniors, and you know, I know that connection is very strong. So you can always reach out to your seniors, ask for help, ask for referrals if they would be willing to help you and refer you for any openings. That will really help you out in you know, bridging that gap whenever it comes to any opportunities that are there and opportunities that exist. So yeah, that's how you tackle getting firstly opportunities on LinkedIn, and then how do you tackle the whole thing around referrals. Yeah.
Okay, so having a lot of questions to ask, I want to start with the fact that you have interacted with a lot of students, interviewed a lot of students. So how you notice a student particularly? For example, I am going to sit in interview processes, and I am excited about this, but nervous at the same point. Like, and many of the students face the same problem. So how from your perspective you notice a student?
Well, I think nervousness is pretty common. Everybody goes through it. Even I go through a lot of nervousness. So I feel that nervousness is not a negative for sure. Everybody goes through it, especially when students are giving their first interview. You know, it's obvious that the person will be nervous. However, it's very important that even though you are nervous, you don't forget you know, your core, right? So for example, if somebody is interviewing you and the first question that they ask is, tell me about yourself, and if that's the question that you mess up, then it's going to come across as this person is super nervous, or this person is not confident about themselves, and that's not the takeaway that you want to create for yourself. So nervousness can be different formats and can be in different forms. You can be nervous when you are actually solving a question. Probably you're coding and you're thoroughly nervous, and probably you don't interact with the interviewer during that time. But at the end of the day, everybody understands. It's not like, as long as you don't screw up your interview because of your nervousness, you're sorted. Yeah, so at least that's my experience with the people that I have interviewed in the past. I always make sure that I give them a second chance. You know, even if as an interviewer, I think it is the responsibility that they should make the person in front feel comfortable, even if they want to take like 1 or 2 minutes to just get sorted and, you know, get sorted in their head. It just helps. So yeah.